Some prisons are dangerous because guards can't control them. Others are dangerous because they can. Tonight's countdown is not an official world ranking. There isn't one. Instead, this is a pattern-based list of prisons repeatedly marked by violence, overcrowding, isolation, corruption, disease, or the total collapse of order. And as the countdown moves upward, one thing becomes clear. The real danger is rarely just the inmates. It is the system itself. At number 10, Pollsmoor Correctional Center in Cape Town, South Africa. Pollsmoor is one of the country's most notorious prisons, and the fear around it begins with density. In 2025, parliamentary oversight reports showed parts of the facility operating far beyond capacity, with remand detainees and women's sections packed to dangerous levels. When a prison is stuffed like that, every problem grows teeth. Tension rises faster. Gang control gets stronger. Disease moves easier. In a place like Pollsmoor, there is barely room for discipline, let alone safety. At number 9, New Bilibid Prison in Muntinlupa in the Philippines. This prison became infamous for a different reason, not just overcrowding, but the way contraband and corruption can hollow out a maximum security system from the inside. Reports over the years have described seizures of weapons, drugs, cigarettes, and other banned items after leadership changes, exposing a prison economy that thrives in the shadows. That is what makes New Bilibid so unsettling. It can look secure on paper, while inside, power belongs to whoever controls the supply lines. At number 8, Litoral Penitentiary, also known as CPL Guayas No. 1, in Guayaquil, Ecuador. This is one of the clearest examples of how prison danger can spread far beyond a single building. In recent reporting, the prison has been tied to violence, tuberculosis outbreaks, malnutrition, and repeated deaths. Rights groups have also raised alarms about harsh treatment under increasingly militarized control. When illness, hunger, and violence all share the same walls, the prison stops functioning as a correctional facility and starts becoming a pressure cooker. And in Ecuador, that pressure has erupted again and again. At number 7, Makala Central Prison in Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Makala is often described as built for about 1,500 people, yet holding far more than that. In some reports, the number rises into the tens of thousands. That kind of overcrowding is not just uncomfortable, it is catastrophic. In September 2024, a jailbreak attempt turned deadly, with reports of mass fatalities and sexual violence during the chaos. Think about that for a moment. A prison so overwhelmed that one break in control can turn into a mass casualty event. Makala shows what happens when a prison outgrows the state meant to contain it. At number 6, the National Penitentiary in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. In March 2024, the world watched as armed gangs stormed the prison and thousands of inmates reportedly fled. That moment shocked international observers, but the danger did not begin there. The facility had long been chronically overcrowded and under extreme strain, a symbol of Haiti's broader security collapse. A prison like this is feared not just because escape is possible, but because order is so fragile that it can vanish in an instant. When a prison loses control, it is no longer just a prison. It becomes part of a battlefield. And now the countdown sharpens. At number 5, Tocoron, the Aragua Penitentiary Center in Venezuela. Tocoron became infamous for a reason that sounds almost unreal. It was widely described as a prison functioning like a gang headquarters. When Venezuelan forces finally moved in, reports described surprises inside, including a pool and even a zoo. That is not what a prison is supposed to be. It is what happens when inmate power replaces state authority. Tocoron was feared because it revealed a terrifying truth. Some prisons are not run by the law at all. They are run by whoever has already won inside their walls. At number 4, CICOT, the Terrorism Confinement Center in Tecoluca, El Salvador. Unlike many prisons on this list, CICOT is feared not for open disorder, but for total control. It was built as a mega-prison, designed to hold enormous numbers of people under severe restrictions. Reports describe crowded cells, no family visits, and prisoners reportedly never being allowed outdoors. Human rights organizations have also criticized the secrecy surrounding the facility and the lack of access. That makes CICOT haunting in a different way. It is not a place where chaos rules. It is a place where almost nothing human is allowed to breathe. At number 3, Evin Prison in Tehran, Iran. Evin is known globally for holding political prisoners, activists, and dual nationals. For years, its name has carried fear because of what it represents, a prison closely tied to state power and political repression. In 2025, that fear deepened when the prison complex was struck during the Israel-Iran conflict, and reports described casualties and chaotic transfers afterward. Evin is a reminder that prisons do not exist outside history. Sometimes they sit directly inside it, where war, punishment, and politics collide. At number 2, Saidnaya Military Prison near Damascus, Syria. If there is a prison on this list that has become a symbol of pure terror, it is Saidnaya. Amnesty International called it a human slaughterhouse, describing mass hangings, torture, starvation-like conditions, and systematic abuse. Even though much of the documentation comes from earlier investigations, its reputation remains one of the darkest in modern history. Saidnaya is feared because it is not remembered as a place of rehabilitation. It is remembered as a place where survival itself was the exception. And at number 1, ADX Florence in Florence, Colorado, in the United States. This is the prison many experts call America's federal supermax. But what makes it terrifying is not riots, gangs, or spectacular violence. It is isolation. In ADX, inmates are often kept in their cells for 23 hours a day, with almost no human contact and barely any connection to the outside world. The punishment is psychological as much as physical. A United Nations human rights document has argued that the solitary regime there violates international obligations. That is why ADX stands at the top of this countdown. It shows that a prison can be deeply feared even when it is calm on the surface, because the real danger is what endless isolation does to the human mind. Across every prison on this list, the pattern is the same. Overcrowding breaks order. Violence spreads, corruption opens the door, isolation crushes the spirit. And when control finally fails, a prison stops being a place of sentence and becomes a place of survival. That is what makes these prisons so feared around the world, not just the reputation, the reality. Comment which prison shocked you most and subscribe for part 2.